And you hear the
Hey, he's right up there.
I'm here with these wonderful ladies and a big bird, and we're in
Wawa, Ontario.
Hello, everybody.
That was day 5 of my trip as I motored across Canada in my Jeep and Outback camper. Seeing the country pass me by at highway speeds mean you see little and appreciate even less. But I only had 2 goals in mind: to make it to my final destination ahead of the movers, and to say hello to a few of my viewers who happen to live along the way. And when it was time to sleep, I'd pull over and take whatever spot I could for the night. And when I wasn't driving, and it wasn't raining, hopefully I could stop and explore the occasional shore, like this one on Lake Superior. Although the water was cold and the stones wouldn't skip, the view was spectacular. While stopping for gas in Marathon, I met Christy, who travels in an old Chevy school bus that makes a comfy camper. And I also met Evelyn in her 1974 bowler. Like me, she traveled all the way from Alberta, so we did a little jig to celebrate. But there wasn't much celebration regarding the road construction, which was quite frequent this time of year. However, there is a little park in White River that'll bring back those happy childhood memories. Yep, that's Winnie the Pooh and his honey jar. It turns out that Winnie the Pooh was based on a real bear that came from White River in 1914 and served as a soldier's mascot in World War I. As a resident of the London Zoo, he was spotted by author A.A. Milne, and ever since, the world of Pooh has a place in every child's heart and on their bookshelf. Now, fortunately, Pooh wasn't the feature at this pullover, but some apparently found relief in the wrong place and the locals take pictures of them. The moral of this story? P is for police, and any leak will cost you. Now, not all signs are unnerving. This pleasant stroll along an Algoma shore led to this painting by J.E.H. MacDonald of the Group of 7. Such an inspiring viewpoint.
I was told by one of my viewers that if I ever go by the Voyager's general store, pick up an apple fritter. It's famous. And that's what this is.
Did anybody notice the vintage bowler in the background?
That is good. Soft and sweet.
And it was sweet to talk travel with Mark in Sault Ste. Marie. Mark has toured some of my favorite spots in his ProLite Plus S camper. Safe driving is always a concern, as there's usually an accident to remind you to be careful. After leaving the Sioux, the weather turned bad again, so I stopped at a private campground near Blind River.
When I first got this camper, it had a mirror on the door here, the lower door, which is perfectly useless for shaving, especially if you're shaving your face. I needed something up here, so I got a pocket mirror and I just attached it to this upper door with self-adhesive tape. And that kind of worked. However, it was a little bit too small and the lighting was bad because the lighting was always from the front of the trailer or the back or the galley, and my face was always in the shadow. I needed a better location and I needed a better mirror. And I think I found it with this one right here. The bonus of this one is it has its own light with 3 settings. It's perfect. It's an LED makeup mirror, but in my case, I call it an LED shaving mirror. And I like the location, works well. And if I want to use it somewhere else, I just take it off because I've got it on Velcro, and it has a stand so I can put it on a table. It has a rechargeable battery and it's got a USB port right there so I can charge it up if the battery goes low on this light. It's a great location, and when I'm not using it, it's just like that. Look at that. I might have missed a spot.
In the morning, I headed out in the rain hoping to make good time. It was also a great opportunity to try out a new idea I had. I managed to reduce the raindrops landing on my rear backup camera by mounting a couple of spare vent deflectors I had left over from my Jeep. These directed the turbulence at the back of my trailer away from the camera. It seemed pretty effective as you watch this truck passing. Those worked well at high speeds, but not so much at the slower ones. In North Bay, I met up with one of my viewers named Emmanuel. He camps in a Grey Wolf and provided me a picture of his setup. Nice rig, Emmanuel. Throughout this trip, I managed to bypass most urban areas, but I did drive through the pleasant town of Renfrew on my way to the outskirts of Ottawa. There, my Ottawa contingent was waiting to meet me. To the left is Steve, who travels in an Okanagan Tribute RV, Melanie and Jim, who have a Lil Bigfoot, and Jim and his dog Buddy, who camp in an E250 van. Thanks for braving the Ottawa traffic, gang. Now, some years ago, Steve and I actually camped at the same place in Arizona, but we never met. I remember popping by his cool RV to introduce myself, but he was out. Glad we finally met, Steve. My next campsite was at Voyager Provincial Park, which is right beside the Ottawa River between Ottawa and Montreal. While driving through the park, I was spotted by Josh, Slate, and Kieran, who didn't know I was coming but recognized me from my videos. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys.
Well, as I work on this next video, I have to admit it is stifling hot and humid here. I'm in Ontario, paid campsite, very near the Quebec border, and I know people from Ontario may be used to the humidity, but I'm not, and it's been raining for days, so that's even made it even more humid. So last time I pulled over, I think it was in Espanola or somewhere in the north, I went to a Canadian Tire and bought the Old Faithful, these hanging damp rids, and you can see, and this is only like 2 or 3 days later. Look at all the water that's accumulated just in that short period of time. These definitely do work, and they're easy to store and carry. I just hang it up over there, and as long as the air's circulating, they work quite well. Those little goofy ones in the jar, they don't work at all. These ones do.
Now, not all of my visitors were welcome. This spider decided to take up residence in my camper. until I trapped him under a cup and showed him the exit.
Hey folks, I'm with Margaret and John, and we're sharing some Timbits, and they gave me a beer. Look at that, a Toppenish IPA, 6%. It's a light beer. They've got their iced tea,
Yep.
and we're just chilling out in Voyager campground,
Can't complain.
shooting it, eating our donuts, getting our sugar buzz, and I'm gonna open the beer. So guys,
And cheers to you.
cheers.
Cheers.
What are you camping in these days?
Right now we're using a Venture Sonic.
Venture Sonic.
Yep. Sounds exciting, isn't it?
It does. Sonic. Isn't that a game? Isn't that like a video
Sonic
game?
the Hedgehog,
Are you
yeah.
just sort of
That would be
going
a hedgehog.
Whoa, that would be cool. You're just flying through the woods like Sonic Hedgehog. And
Yes.
you think my camper is exciting? These guys are Sonic. Come on.
Oh, jeez.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to everyone.
Cheers to everyone.
Now, when I come up with a neat idea for improving a trailer, I like to share it. But when every once in a while I make a mistake, I also have to admit it. And I think I did, because a couple of viewers pointed out that when I made this secure way of locking my front caddy, it's not a good idea, because when I lock it for people like thieves, I also lock it out for firefighters. My propane tank is in here, and you should not lock up a propane tank. Totally understand, and I totally get it. So now, when I'm out on the road, I will not be locking this up. What I will be doing is removing the lock and using just a clip instead, and that should keep it reasonably secure. I might come up with a better way. However, when I'm in a campground and I'm leaving the trailer unattended, absolutely, the lock comes back out, put it on, and lock it up. It makes sense. I don't want anybody in there, as I don't want anybody in my trailer.
The next morning was the start of a long day, and I headed out of camp around 6:30 a.m.
Well, it's great to be able to go across provincial borders again without any hassle. No check stops, RCMP, no self-isolation, quarantine. It's been a long time coming, but it's almost back to normal.
I passed into Quebec and drove under the canal. To avoid the Montreal freeway, I took this toll bridge over the St. Lawrence. Sadly, from this bridge I couldn't see much of the mighty St. Lawrence, and I also missed the signs that said bump ahead. I gotta pay more attention to the road. I had no problem paying attention a few hours later.
Well, I'm kind of stuck in gridlock around Quebec City. Tried to avoid this, but it still happens.
There were some people I wanted to meet up with in Quebec City, but that'll have to wait for another time, as it was getting late and I still had a long way to go.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a few people that thought as I traveled east, I'd be documenting all the beautiful campsites and, wildlife, nature. But unfortunately, it's just not that type of trip. I'm going from point A to point B. I have to beat the movers to my final destination. So, yeah, I'm driving most of the time. This
Well, you see now, is what I've been doing for the last few days is just a lot of driving. I have stopped at a few provincial parks that were on the Trans-Canada Highway, and so I got a chance to at least see a little bit of Ontario. But most of the time, all I saw was pavement. But my intention is to just get settled first, and then when I come back a little bit more relaxed, I can focus on specific areas, and that's what I plan on doing. Like, I drove right through Algonquin Provincial Park, and I know it's a phenomenal park, but it was raining and I had no reservations and I couldn't really spend much time. So what was the point? I wouldn't be able to do it justice right now. When I come back, I definitely will make sure the beautiful places in Ontario and Quebec I will spend time on. Finally, after 8 hours of driving, I reached another border crossing. However, this one did have a check stop. Fortunately, I'd filled out the appropriate paperwork, so they let me go through. I'm in New Brunswick! I'm in the Maritimes! Yay! I'm in. Right on. From Alberta to New Brunswick, I drove 4,350 kilometers or 2,700 miles. That's a lot of driving, even for me. But the good news is I can now take a little bit of a break and settle down to my new surroundings. The journey's not over, it's really just begun. The Atlantic! I made it! There must be lots of skippers here. I hope you'll join me as I start exploring the eastern part of this wonderful continent. Please stay tuned for further adventures.